Hello?
Hi. Um,
Hi,
hi.
Hello.
Hello!
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Can you hear us?
I yeah, yeah. Unfortunately, I forgot to get my headset.
Okay.
Uh, so I'm gonna have to do it through the mic on the computer. I
Okay.
hope this sounds okay.
No, it sounds good. It's
Yeah,
fine.
Okay.
sounds fine. Very good.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's great.
Excellent. Yeah. So this is the first time. I've used this particular setup, so I don't have everything set up optimally, but I think it'll work
Okay,
for now.
that's cool. We're
Great.
happy. So, we'll just jump straight in, hey?
Okay, yeah, yeah.
It's been a long time since we've chatted. I don't know how long it's been, but it feels like almost a year or something.
At least a year.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe a little less. I think we might have been chatting last March or April, maybe, but I mean, that's close enough to a year ago.
I just want to make sure that it's recording on my side. Yeah, yeah, it is. Yeah, that's good. Um, now how do I get this call back? Okay, sorry, I'm just checking my side.
That's it.
So, William, you've had some changes in the last little while. You've moved off the island of Hawaii.
Uh, uh,
How's that?
well, it was definitely time, it wasn't too heartbreaking to leave such an amazing place. I knew that it was in the proper course of events, but and it's been exciting. It was no small lure that drew us away from Hawaii and the institute we had set up there. There was just a phenomenal new course, a new opportunity here on the mainland. So yeah, we uh, relocated. We're in California. Um,
Wow. So the whole institute moved.
yeah, yeah. The because essentially, you know, uh, we've kind of rebranded in a sense where there's still the nonprofit organization, the Resonance Institute, which is primarily concerned with just helping to spread information, educate people, provide educational resources in that sense. It doesn't have any kind of motive other than a service-based motive in that sense. But we have also started an initiative that is focused around um, actual application of the science with new technologies that can make a difference. Um, like never before, we have the resources to realize the application of the science of unification, and so it's exciting.
Wow, I'd love to. I mean, we'd love to hear more about that, but maybe we can just talk about some of the topics that we're interested in, just name them, and then just see where to begin. But I'd
Oh,
love to make one of those topics just a little bit more about your research and where you're at.
uh,
But I know that that is not a small amount of information. That
yeah,
in itself could take 2 days.
yeah, yeah. We could run a series talking about it. Yeah,
Yeah. How long have you got this morning? How long do you have?
So, yeah, I've got a design meeting at 11:30. So actually, I've got 45 minutes, and I need to sign off.
Okay.
Yeah, because um, yeah, I'm in the new labs and offices right now. Uh,
So we'll just quickly say the different areas that we were thinking of talking about, and then maybe we can just decide where to start,
okay,
and just jump in. So I don't know. Would you like to just introduce yourself? Just
sure,
say who you
yeah,
are
yeah,
and what you're doing a little
uh
bit, and then we'll introduce
yeah.
ourselves.
Excellent. Okay. Yeah. So, well, I'm a longtime friend now of Amy's, and I met Wilhelm last year, and we had a excellent conversation. But I had the pleasure of meeting Amy in South
Amanda, not
Africa.
Amy.
Oh, I'm sorry, Amanda.
Maybe Amy in another life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, Sorry, it's been already. And my thoughts are all in order. I apologize.
That's all
uh,
right.
but uh, yeah, so we've been having conversations for uh, at least 3 or 4 years now, on and off. So it's been great, uh, exploring these ideas. I'm actually working as a biophysicist, so looking at the application of principles of physics, you know, kind of advanced physics, quantum mechanics, the principles of unified physics, especially as formulated by Nassim Haramein. But looking at that as it applies to the biological system, so uh, it's, I think, vitally important to update our view of the biological system, which, as far as our materialist, physicalist based science has been concerned, the biological system, the biological organism, has largely been viewed as kind of a haphazard product of a blind evolutionary process, and you have this kind of mishmash of these gooey biomolecules strung together that somehow miraculously makes a functional organism. And that's kind of the underlying presumption or perspective when talking about biological organism of which we are classified. So even the human being, and this is kind of a remarkable perspective. I think that you could view the biological organism as being uh, so rudimentary in its constitution, and arising from haphazard, blind evolutionary processes with no directionality whatsoever, just serendipitous mistakes and accidents over the course of billions of years. But so, what I'm looking at is the supreme, superlative orchestration and ordering of the biological organism, where in fact it is, as far as our investigation, collectively, the human species, that is the apex of technological sophistication and innovation. In anything that we've encountered, the biological organism is the most technologically, although it's natural, but it's our technologies are based on natural principles. It's the most technologically sophisticated um, uh, um, organization of matter that we've ever encountered. Uh, and so it's certainly utilizing remarkable properties of the natural universe, like what you see in quantum mechanics with quantum entanglement, strong coherence, these kind of things. So that opens the door into beginning to have a serious discussion, I think, about the capabilities of the human body, the human system, the biological organism in general. Its ability to tap into a non-local field of information, what we call the unified space memory network, to be able to access remarkable states that are in fact able to work within the natural bounds of the universe to affect systems. So, you might call that, in a spiritual sense, a manifestation, those kind of things. But even directed evolution of the organism. So, being able to direct your own evolution within, a single lifespan, so that you can actually transform yourself into that, exemplary system, full realization of the capabilities, the natural capabilities of the human system, are what we've been endowed with to explore this particular realm. It's not without purpose, in my view. And there's many characteristics, many capabilities that are not recognized, or that are deemed to be even supernatural by consensus opinion, just because it isn't fully understood. But just because something isn't fully understood doesn't mean it's supernatural. It just means that your understanding does not encompass the full purview of what's possible. So we hope to not only investigate that, to provide information about it, but also to develop direct applications or technologies of those principles. Because, in a sense, if you could reverse engineer some of the remarkable capabilities of the biological organism, you can get technologies that can do remarkable things to help us, in our efforts um, here. So that's the I think full kind of objective of what I do in the most largest perspective. Yeah.
It's so exciting. I wish we could get you out here for like a few weeks to get the full picture of all of this stuff.
Uh, 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 uh,
Have you got any
yeah.
courses online? Or are they, where do people find more information about what you're doing?
Yeah. So on the Resonance Academy, Resonance, RESONANCE, like to resonate. On the Resonance Academy, if you look at that online, um, we actually have developed a full line of courses. So it's the delegate level one kind of introductory courses to unified physics. And so, it takes you through, examining some of the basic presumptions and models that our culture works within. And we call that actually like an analysis of the disconnected worldview perspective. Not recognizing the inherent interconnection of events and things that uh, operating on all levels as if it's not a highly ordered, interconnected system that at all scales, at all levels. And that causes significant problems. It allows for things like gross inequality in our culture, social stratification, exploitation of people and of resources of the natural environment because it is not fully recognized that it's all one thing. It's interconnected and interdependent, and you can't exploit certain segments of the system and even destroy them, or deteriorate them to such a state that you're not going to be immune from those effects. So, but that applies to from that level to even within the workplace, within the familiar family structure, the way we do science, the way we do philosophy and spirituality. It's almost permeated with this kind of what we call disconnected worldview. So we examine that, we present the connected worldview perspective, which is kind of the antithesis to that. And then, of one of our most prevalent methodologies of examining and understanding the physical world, which is science. So, we take a look at the historical development of science, where the innovative elements come from. And, it's not hard to show that the innovative elements that, advance science are predominant methodology of understanding ourselves in the world. The innovative elements have always been those that question the status quo, those that have the fortitude and strength and conviction to, oftentimes brilliance, to question the prevailing paradigm, even in some cases at risk to their well-being. They're, in some of the earlier times, they got jailed for life or executed outright. But and for things like so the predominant paradigm, like that the Earth is the center of the universe, and they say, well, maybe not. Maybe the sun is the center of the universe. And people were jailed for life and executed for promoting these kind of ideas. But there's a long historical progression of that kind of those kind of innovators, if I could use that term. And oftentimes what they were promoting was elements of a connected worldview perspective. So. I think that sets up a good context. But then we get into even just the nitty gritty of modern physics. So everything from electromagnetism to Newtonian gravitation. So, real kind of as straightforward consensus teaching of modern physics is we can stomach. And then unified physics. Not only unified in the sense of a holistic perspective, but also in the more technical sense of the word, unifying quantum phenomenon and general relativistic phenomenon. And finally, in some of the modules that I had the most contributions to, we get into things like uh, applied technologies, so controlling the gravitational field for advanced propulsion and levitation, um, as well as applications in health and well-being, by understanding how these principles of unified physics operate in the biological system to produce the coherence that is exemplified by the holistic nature of the body, the organism. That's coherence, strong coherence among all the constituent parts, acting as one unit. And that uh, involves some pretty sophisticated physics of the body. That's it's being one of the most technologically sophisticated constituents of matter. It's able to do these things, make something as superb in its function and operation as the human being, human body. So. Uh, I think it's a really good introduction to what we're looking at and what we've been investigating and working towards. And also on the Resonance Academy site, I have like a lecture on there available for free to the public. It's on Channel 64. There's like a link to the Channel 64 events. And, it's a lecture talking about like from cosmogenesis to consciousness and everything in between, so um, looking at tying it all together from the biggest to the smallest and from us to the universe, so there's some good material available there to investigate it more, look into it more.
Okay, well, we'll definitely add the link to the bottom of the video so that people
Okay.
that are interested can go there because there's so much
Oh,
to learn.
yeah.
So I'm going to pass it over to Willem to introduce himself now a little bit, and he's got a couple of questions to ask you, and then we'll see where it goes after that.
Yeah, so I'm a holistic coach and work with health, and I also work with dance, and I've got a very strong interest in the quantum world because I have a biofeedback computer that comes from the Max Planck Institute, a bioresonance computer. So dealing with health for people in terms of the holistic view. Can you hear me?
I can hear you better, but can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
clearly.
Oh, you can. Oh,
Yes.
okay. I wasn't sure if it shut off the microphone if I put these on. Okay.
No,
No,
it's good.
it's
Okay.
all good. All good.
Okay. Cool.
Okay, so from the so the question is, what's your perspective? You seem to be in an extremely energized, exciting place in your life. However, with me dealing with the people coming in mainstream life, it seems that the general word I hear is things are overwhelming, things are in chaos, things are really tough, it's a really crazy world right now. And then I'm wondering, does this perhaps equate with Schumann resonance? The various reports, and we get very conflicting reports sometimes that the Schumann resonance has gone even higher than 100, where it used to be 8 hertz, say in 1986, and now some people are saying that it's like crazy reports coming in. But
Uh,
whereas I'm still in the line of thinking that, look, it'll probably settle around 13 cycles per second. And, perhaps, I don't know if you I'd like to get your view on this and the impact on our biophysics, yes, and
Uh-huh.
of the Schumann and this changing vibration of the Earth.
Yeah. Well, I would be actually really skeptical about the possibility that it would be deviating much beyond 7 to 13 hertz, just because, uh, it's a pretty specific ratio, harmonic that establishes the Schumann resonance. It has to do with the actual radius, or in essence, diameter of the atmosphere around the Earth. So, to get a standing wave within that diameter, uh, it's very difficult to get much deviation beyond 7 to 13 hertz, because you would have to it would have to be either increasing or decreasing the radius of the Earth. So I, I'm not saying that it's impossible that it could be going as high as 100 hertz, but um, there's just a number of reasons I would find that hard to believe. Not only because of the specific way, a specific ratio of the radius of the really the Earth's atmosphere, and what kind of standing wave can fit in that, but also although it's not um, completely explained how, but the Schumann resonance I think is extremely important in facilitating the synchronization of the biosphere, of the living rhythms of the biosphere, of the Earth. So, it's no coincidence to me that like our brain runs on a 7 to 13 hertz cycle during most daily activities, which is in complete resonance with the Schumann cycle, her frequency. So I don't think that that's any coincidence. It's part of the entrainment or attunement, even for synchronization, um, for keeping a healthy natural biorhythm. So yeah, I wonder though if though just because of the pressure that is seeming to be building, that I would certainly understand why somebody might think that that is correlated with an increased higher frequency of the Schumann resonance. Because it's like that would be very much correlated with, I think, the increased pressure of our time right now. So maybe things are feeling more chaotic, more stressful, even because of uh, increased frequencies of the natural, what is otherwise the natural biorhythms of our ecosystem, or maybe our increased chaotic or erratic behavior and of friction is feeding energy into the biosphere and causing increased uh, frequency of the natural biorhythms so that, the entire system's responding to the energy we're putting out. It's difficult to say, but, I can certainly imagine where at some level that's occurring. But, I really do. I think that it's just that we are poised at a very transitionary period of time. It's in no small part because of the technological advancements of certainly the last century, but because of the fractal implosion, the fractal acceleration, in the last 20 years, and in the last decade, the technological advancements have put us in a position where we are juxtaposed between new possibilities and a, uh, depending on your particular perspective, as long as a 5,000-year history of a very particular modality or system of culture and civilization. So, um, going back as far as 5,000 years, we've had a very particular structure to how we organize our culture and our society, which, affects all levels of that system, from the individual to the most largest scale organization, institute, or system. Uh, and that, I think, is becoming juxtaposed with the capabilities we now have available, where that is not only no longer needed, it's in direct conflict, direct opposition with the new systems that are emerging. So decentralization, for instance, where technology, the internet, our communications technologies has allowed us to organize almost in like a self-ordering way. At the most foundational level, individuals can organize, come together, coordinate their efforts and resources together to make large changes, so that that centralized hierarchical system that we have supported and hence lived under for the last 5,000 or more years, um, you know, uh, is just a burden to that kind of fluidity. It's like, if I can put it in terms of physics, it's like a transition phase. So like, we've been kind of living in like what would be a frozen type structure, so like ice, and the new energies are like the heat that melts the ice, and it's now a fluid. And so we're adjusting to that phase transition from being in a rigid, solid, unchanging system to something that is much more adaptable, that is much more fluid and changing. And you know, uh, I think that there's certain elements that want to resist that, because they're dependent on, their existence is marked by how things were, and the new system doesn't need their particular influence anymore. So that creates a certain level of conflict, and then even, as each of us adapt to the new way of being. So. Um, yeah. That's just my view on some of the source of, the chaos that we see coming so often from the mainstream general population, I guess.
Great. No, thanks. That's a great answer. Which takes me, and you mentioned new systems, so which takes me to the what is your could you give us an update, or have you heard anything about uh, beyond free energy generation, where it starts to become more viable? I'm hearing more and more rumors, and then also some disappointments. Like it seems the cache plasma generation that I haven't really heard about successes around it. Then another guy says, no, he's got something, and so it goes, and so yeah. So where do you how do you see things in that?
Well, so, I think that because of, the huge increase in the number of not only people working on that particular topic, the credibility that that concept has gained, even in like the last decade, there is a widespread emergence of viable technologies, and first generation in the sense that you can now find a number of different researchers, individuals, and teams that have a device or construction that can demonstrate some limited degree of uh, energy generation from the ubiquitous. So, drawing from the limitless energy that pervades everything. So, free energy production. So, there's, um, but although there's a number of, and more so, you know, viable demonstrations of the technology, uh, I don't think that any of them has quite got to the point that you have a standalone, functional, fully operational unit, technology that, can begin to be produced on a large scale and distributed. I think that we're still far from that goal, because I mean, it was only, 20 some odd years ago that the idea of, zero point energy, free energy was a kind of a taboo topic. It was like for the extreme fringe, so it was only, in the last decade that you could begin to speak about it in a more even mainstream kind of fashion. Um, it's still definitely not mainstream, but that's 10 years. And so, really, even having any kind of demonstration of that uh, principle is phenomenal. To be able to do that in 10 years, and I mean, of course, actually, there has been demonstrations of this kind of technology going back over 100 years ago. I mean, Tesla was building technologies based on this idea, and was interestingly shut down, stopped, so because of control and money issues from the elite class, so to speak. But but again, at this point, it's like the new emerging degree of sharing of information, open source information. You can get papers and videos online for free. And researchers are openly sharing their information because, one of the remarkable things about that particular movement is it's not based on that old paradigm of making an invention, getting a patent on it, and exploiting it to get rich and get power. Uh, the people working on this stuff want to do away with all of that. They want free energy. They want it to be free because they want to lift human civilization up to the next level. Beyond our 5,000 year legacy of antiquity. So uh, I think that it's accelerating, um, and with that acceleration, um, it's not far off that we will see um, functional, fully operational devices. Not only for free energy production, so kind of essentially limitless over unity energy production. So it can continuously and indefinitely produce the energy you need, but also things like uh, gravitational control devices, for advanced propulsion, so we can start to get off the surface of the Earth, start to explore outer space, start to colonize outer space. Um, that's not such a bad thing. If you can get off the surface of the Earth, you don't have as strong of an impact on the natural ecosystems, with your big cities and stuff like that. But uh, you know, so I think we're getting very close to seeing these technologies realized, and that's part of the transition. That's why we're in that transitionary phase. Once these become available, it'll catalyze and solidify that transition to the new phase. It's like freely available energy and advanced propulsion will, I think, be some of the key elements in finalizing the transition. And I think they're coming, definitely.
So we must just stay patient.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
It's always good to hear you say, just like it's coming, it's on its way, it might be
Uh,
slow, it might seem like it's never arriving, but it's coming.
it's one of the reasons I think that I try to just keep my head on my shoulders, and not let the insanity and the things going on get get me all centered too much. Because if we can just, I think, keep focused, keep centered, and exercise good degree of patience, it's coming. I think, so the changes are in the wind, and it's a matter of even being at our best to help facilitate the changes that are coming.
William, I know we've got to kind of start wrapping up soon so that you can get to
Uh-huh.
your next meeting, but maybe you could summarize for us a little bit about the technology that you guys are busy with and what the changes are and what, I know that you were speaking about consciousness-driven technology and stuff like that a while ago. Is that what the changes are about, or what's this new arm or leg or whatever of the institute about?
So Um, I would say that at the core, it is free energy production. So, at this time, we're working full time to, uh, you know, implement our particular um, uh, idea around how to generate free energy. And, it's something that we're getting very close to. You know, um, so with the new um, initiative that we have access to even greater resources to realize the application of that idea for free energy production. So, you know, we're um, on our way towards giving it a demonstration of our device before too long. Of course, with our particular device, because it is coupling with the quantum vacuum, which is another term for space-time. So, there's a couple of concepts in there that, for one, space-time is not empty. Uh, by necessity, it's not empty. Uh, and when you look at quantum field theory and you do the calculations, so quantum field theory says that, there's fluctuations in the vacuum energy state, 0 point fluctuations. You say, okay, they have this energy, and there's this many of them in a cubic centimeter of space. How much energy is that? It's more energy than all the matter in the universe, the cubic centimeter of space, and physicists say, oh, this is a catastrophe. Our quantum field theory is saying that, there's almost an infinite amount of energy in any point of space. Uh, but then space would have to be infinitely curved because energy curves space-time. And curved space-time is what gives you things like gravity. And I say, oh, it must be horribly wrong. But if it's infinitely curved, what that translates as is just that there's actual geometry and structure to space-time. It's not just flat and isotropic. Uh, if you look at the quantum scale, there's actually this dynamic, intricate geometry to space-time. And in fact, the energy, nearly infinite energy density, the cubic centimeter of space, the energy is such that it curves space so much that it makes communication channels, little tubes, space-time channels permeating everything, all the space, the ubiquium. Um, these are like your wormholes, and we all, we know from movies and everything that you can go into a wormhole, be at one location, and jump out at another location uh, instantaneously. However far away it might be. Uh, well, so that's the structure of space at the smallest scale, and that's why it's a connected universe. Because you do have communication with the most separated points of the universe. You can go to the edge of the observable universe, and that is connected with you here and now through that infinite curvature, through that. wormhole network, micro wormhole network. And then even in more kind of um, demonstrable terms, even things like quantum entanglement. So it's been demonstrated that you can create a pair of photons. You excite the electromagnetic field, create a pair of photons. They've separated them out, several kilometers apart, and done perturbations to them. Have shown that they're connected as if there's no separation between them at all. So, you know, uh, faster than the speed of light. They're reacting to each other's state. How is that possible? Infinite curvature of space, micro wormhole communication, where space and time are not the same as what we're used to dealing with at this particular resolution. So, there's some really, you know, simple yet fundamental differences in how we view these concepts that actually are the basis of unified physics. If you can develop a method to couple with the quantum vacuum, and there's a number of different ways to do it. Your body, every atom of your body, every molecule does it continuously. It's coupling with the vacuum. Um, there are ways to do that, and if you can do it in a controlled enough manner, and tap that infinite energy potential, and bring energy out. It already occurs naturally. It's just finding a way to replicate that natural process in a technological device. But that's drawing energy from the 0 point field, from space-time itself. It's also changing the structure of space-time. You have the possibility of engineering the structure of space-time. That's gravity. So you get energy extraction and gravitational control, all in a single device. That's one of the applications that we've got going right now, and is making good progress towards realizing before too long. Uh,
Fantastic. It sounds like we could carry on in the next interview with the application in terms of healing, how that infinite energy source, how we can access that. It sounds like we can continue.
uh, not only how the body can access it, but then that also gets into ideas of consciousness. Because and consciousness interface technologies. Because consciousness is coming from that infinite sea of energy. It's coming from that, and it's the way that the biological system interfaces and interacts with it, that it is kind of exchanged. So it's like coming into the body, and at the same time we're feeding our experiences into it. And so consciousness is not just a product of the brain, but it's coming from that sea of energy. So again, your same kind of methods to couple with that field. You can couple with it to draw energy, but also you could couple with it for increased awareness, increased access to information. And then if that was taken in a technological level. A device that could do that. It can have pretty remarkable applications as well. Yeah. Which is another area that we're working. Another area we're working in. Uh,
So are you able to get more sleep in this new place, or are the UFOs still bothering you at night?
yeah, because of the much higher population here, there isn't as much activity.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like it's actually one thing I miss though.
Same.
So yeah. So getting good sleep, but I miss that interaction. Because Kauai was just like a hot spot for that kind of activity. And I think it's partly because it's like one of the most isolated places on Earth. It's got like a really, really low population. So, there's a lot more freedom, I think, to come and interact without causing too much upset, too much intervention, but no, I miss it.
Yeah, well, I'm sure they've sent you to the mainland to consolidate.
Yeah. It was time. It's like it was definitely part of the proper order of unfoldment. I think of the larger uh, objective. That I think we're privy to, but
Well, you'll have to organize a visit back there soon.
oh yeah, uh, uh, uh,
Anyway, so we'll let you go, but it was so
okay.
wonderful just to have a little bit of time with you, and just to hear where your research is at the beginning of the next phase. So thank
Well,
you.
yes, it's just always great getting to speak with y'all, and we'll have to look into another time to continue.
Yes,
Yeah,
looking
that would be
forward.
wonderful. We look forward to it. Thanks so much
Excellent,
for your
excellent.
time, William.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Bye,
Okay,
bye,
William.
bye,
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
bye. Thank you, man.
Bye.
Bye, Wilhelm.